Welcome back to EpicSolo, where I play Dungeons & Dragons solo while building an epic fantasy setting completely from scratch. Thank you for joining us for Episode 1, Tat Tvam Asi. Now, I could have just simply called this episode Character Creation, but that seemed a bit dull, doesn't it? It seems dull. And so, it is named Tat Tvam Asi, which is Sanskrit for Thou art that, or You're it. Tat Tvam Asi comes from the Upanishads and concerns itself with the concept of an ultimate reality that suggests that we are not separate entities from the myriad things of the universe, but rather we are the universe. Or that the universe experiences itself through us.
What in the nine hells does any of this have to do with the Dungeons and the Dragons, though?
A large part of the process for building the fantasy setting for EpicSolo will involve asking questions, and so I thought it would be appropriate as we begin creating player characters and universes that we delve into some of those epic philosophical questions. Questions like, which came first, the player character or the universe? Or, if an epic fantasy setting is created, but there are no player characters to experience it, does it still make a sound? You know, questions like that. Sort of things that keep folks like you and I up late at night. So you came to the channel for some D&D and ended up getting a lecture on universal consciousness. Hey, it happens. Stick with us. We'll get into some character creation here in just a moment. There are plenty of great resources available for character creation in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The Player's Handbook has everything you need. But I will say this, even for a veteran player, I stumbled through the building of my first player character in 5th edition. The concept behind player characters in 5th edition is solid. And having played just about every edition of Dungeons & Dragons, there are things I really like about 5th edition. It does some things very, very well. The actual process for creating a character as defined in the Player's Handbook leaves a lot to be desired and could definitely be improved upon. For our first player character, we'll be doing things the virtual, old-fashioned way by using the Player's Handbook and a form-fillable PDF character sheet, which is available for download at Wizards of the Coast website. And so, before we start with step 1, let's start with the hardest part of creating any player character, naming our player character. We're going to roll for it. No, I'm just kidding. Our first player character's name will be Malfac. There. The hard part is over. Technically, naming your character is part of step 4, but I thought it would be nice to put a name to a miniature face and also a portrait for our character. So there he is. There's a portrait. And there's a miniature. Let's go ahead. Name our character. And let's import a portrait, shall we? There we go. Well on our way. Here we go. Hard part is over. Step 1 of player creation tells us that we must choose a race. And when choosing a race, we'll be paying attention to racial traits. Racial traits cover things like ability score increases, age, alignment suggestions, size, speed, languages, subraces if applicable, and finally, any unique traits that accompany a particular race. For our character Malfac, we will be choosing half-elf as our race. You know you love them. Let's take a look at the racial traits of half-elves. Ability score increase. We'll receive a +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 other abilities of our choice. Age. Life expectancy for half-elves is about 180 years, although they mature at about the same rate as humans. We are going to say that this incarnation of Malfac is that of a young adult. in his 20s. So a very young half-elf. Let's roll a d10, though, to decide just how old. So 20-something. So we'll say Malfac is 26. All right. I hope he's not a musician, because 27 is a rough age for musicians, so I don't think we'll be picking that performer for background. Alignment. Half-elves tend to lean towards chaotic, but this is merely for suggestion. We'll decide this in step 4. Size. Half-elves are roughly the same size as humans and are considered a medium-sized creature. Their speed, however, is 30 feet. Languages. Common and Elvish. +1 extra. We'll decide the extra language in step 4. Now for the good stuff. Dark vision. Half-elves can see in dim light within 60 feet. I'm going to put the R in front of the different features and traits just to denote if it's racial or class-based or background-based. Fey ancestry. Half-elves have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, and magic cannot cause sleep. Skill versatility. Half-elves gain proficiency in 2 skills of their choice. It's good to have an idea about what proficiencies your class and background offer at this point, so we are not being redundant with our choices. And so for Malfac, we'll be choosing survival and intimidation. Survival seems like an important skill for survival. And we'll be taking a few different charisma-based traits. I think that'll pretty much do it for step 1. We'll refer back to our racial traits and bonuses in future steps. And so the second step of player creation is to choose a class. And the player's handbook states that class is the primary definition of what your character can do. And for our class, we'll be choosing Sorcerer. The sorcerer's description in the player's handbook is a spellcaster who draws on inherent magic from a gift or bloodline. And perhaps the best way to define what a sorcerer is in D&D, or how they're different than other magic users, would be to say that they are innate magic users. Unlike a wizard or a cleric, sorcerers don't have to rely on piety or fancy book learning to gain access to their spells. Instead, they are imbued with natural or unnatural innate abilities that allow them to wield their powerful magics. Because of this, sorcery is usually frowned upon by the general public and scholarly practitioners of magic like wizards, haughty wizards. And sorcery is often viewed as chaotic and referred to as wild magic. And sorcerers do have a reputation for being a bit reckless and are often labeled as dangerous or unpredictable, but most sorcerers would just say that wizards are simply jealous of their innate and natural talent. So let's begin by taking a look at the general classes table. Our hit die is D6. And our primary ability is Charisma. We'll be jumping around a bit as we fill out the sheet, and hopefully we'll get everything. And if we don't, we'll definitely make sure we have it before our first adventure. So our saving throw proficiencies are Constitution and Charisma. Our saving throw proficiencies are Constitution and Charisma. I'm reading a script, obviously. Weapons: daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaves, and light crossbows. We're recording on the fly, though. There's no editing, so we're not going to go back and worry about that. Mistakes are our calling card here on EpicSolo. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. Mistakes are good. Most of the time. All right. We are not proficient with any type of armor, nor tools. So no armor. And no tools. For skills, we will be choosing 2 from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. I'm going to choose Persuasion and Deception. Both charisma based, and I feel like this is definitely going to fit in nicely with Malphac's character and should make for some interesting interactions. Let's take a look at the Sorcerer class table. At first level, our proficiency bonus is +2. Proficiency bonus was a game changer in 5th edition and is something that I think they did very well. And I know that there's some that disagree with that, but it does streamline quite a few things, and especially skills. So I do like it for that reason. Next are features. The Sorcerer has access to 2 class features. At level 1, spellcasting. Well, of course, it's rather important. And Sorceress Origin. Let's choose our Sorceress Origin. We have the option of choosing from 2 in the player's handbook. Draconic Bloodline, which is awesome. Dragons are awesome. But for a bit of flavor, and also something that I think will work really well with what we were trying to accomplish here on the channel, is the idea that Malphac is very much a character embraced by the forces of chaos. And so we're going to choose Wild Magic as our Sorceress Origin. People at home with more experience with wild magic are like, no, don't do it. Take Draconic Bloodline, don't do it. I'm the DM too, so I get to have fun with that. I'm going to make myself roll every time. And I'm never going to forget, except for the times I do. All right, so this is going to give us access to Wild Magic Surge, where we will be rolling a d20 each turn. On rolling a 1, we will then roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. It seems like a lot of fun, and hey, what could possibly go wrong, right? We will also get access to Tides of Chaos, and so Tides of Chaos allows Malphac to manipulate the forces of chance, gaining advantage on one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Once used, we'll need to complete a long rest before we can use this feature again. Anytime we regain the use of this feature, we will also be making another roll on the Wild Magic table. Again, what could go wrong? I can't wait. Very excited to lean into the Wild Magic Sorceress Origin, and I hope it offers some great opportunities for chaos to assist us in driving our narrative and just to be generally entertaining. At first level, we will know 4 cantrips and 2 first level spells and have 2 spell slots. We must choose wisely because unlike the bookish wizards, what we choose is what we get. We're not learning any new spells until we level up. And so with great sorcerer's power comes a bit of limitation. So for our cantrips, we will choose Firebolt. Fire. Gotta have the Firebolt. Ray of Frost. Mending. And Mage Hand. And for our first level spells, we will choose, ready? Here we go, some shockers here. Magic Missile. And, ready? We're gonna see if the Psychic Link is working here, even though this is pre-recorded, but let's see. Okay, here we go. Guess what I'm gonna pick for the second first level spell. Ready? See if you can guess. 3, 2, 1. Say it with me. Mage Armor. You got it. I knew it. All right, so we will also need to choose a spellcasting focus. And so we'll choose Arcane Focus. And we'll decide exactly what that is a little later. Our spell save DC is going to be 8 plus our proficiency bonus plus our charisma bonus, which is, see, this is where character creation and at least the order of operations is a bit clunky in 5th edition. We have not determined our ability scores yet, so we'll come back to this later, and we will also figure out our spell attack modifier as well. And so 2 slots total and 2 spells known. All right, we're well on our way. Hit points. Our hit die is D6. So our hit points at first level are 6 plus our Constitution modifier. Again, maybe we should be determining our ability scores as part of this process, but don't worry. We'll come back to this after step 3. Our hit points at higher levels are 1d6 or 4 plus your Constitution modifier per sorcerer level. We will absolutely be rolling for hit points. I know, right? Like to live on the edge. We love to roll dice here. And so that'll do it for class traits. Again, we'll have to come back and address a few things after the next step, because step 3, we are going to determine ability scores. Who's ready to roll for some ability scores? I know I am. So step 3 of the player's handbook says that we determine our ability scores at random. One of my absolute favorite steps in character creation for any RPG, and definitely one of my favorite processes in Dungeons and Dragons at large. I completely understand the reasoning for moving away from rolling randomly when determining ability scores, especially for group play. But for Epic Solo, we are letting fate decide. Who can remember rolling ability scores for hours? Even for Baldur's Gate, the original Baldur's Gate, released in 1997. So much fun. So we will be rolling for our ability scores, and we only have one shot here. We're doing it live, so let's hope the dice gods are smiling upon us with favor on this glorious day of player creation. Here is how it's done. We're going to roll 4 6-sided dice, recording the total of the highest 3, and then we'll write them down and assign them to an ability after we have rolled 6 times, rolling once for each ability score. Who's ready? I know I am. Here we go. I'm not nervous or anything. Feeling good. The dice feel good today. Here we go. Oh, the dice feel really good. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, folks. We have a 17 to start off with. I'm pumped now. So are you. You know you are. I dropped that. We'll take that. All right, here we go. Let's keep it going. Our second roll. Here we go. Okay, well, a little bit of balance there, I suppose. It'd certainly be worse. We've got an 11. All right, I need to shake them longer. That's it. Okay, a 10. Very average. Still not awful. That 17 makes me feel good. Gives me confidence for these next 3 rolls. Here we go. Let's do something better, though. I'm going to go 2 hands. Oh, boy. The gods not smiling upon us with favor. That's a 9. All right, we've got 2 more. Let's get something higher than 10, huh? I'll be happy with a 12. Give me a 12. Another 10? Or an 11. Okay, an 11. Not a 12. All right, here we go. Last chance. You want to see an 18, don't you? Let's do it. Come on. Magic box cards. Here we go. Oh, okay. A 14. I am not disappointed with this at all. We can work with this. So here we go. we will be remembering now to assign our ability scores, remembering the +2 to charisma and +1 to 2 other ability scores of our choosing. Oh boy. 17 really makes things interesting, doesn't it? I mean, I'm a sorcerer. I'm not afraid of odd numbers. It's not even a question. It's a destiny. And so we're going to start off with a 17 +2, a 19 for charisma. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. What else do we like? We like Constitution. We certainly like Wisdom. And we've got a 14 sitting out there. Do I want to be wise? Do I want to be hardy? Wise or hardy? What do you think? I want to be hardy. We're going to put the 14 in Constitution. All right. And so for Wisdom, we're going to put the 11, but we're going to use one of our +1s. So we will choose it there. Intelligence is good, but Malfac has never, in all the different incarnations, and you can ask the people I've played with, he's not the smartest player character. And he's a bit young, 26. That's very young for a half-elf. So I'm thinking we're going to put the 11 in dexterity, and we're going to add our other +1. Yeah, that seems right. Okay. And so our 10 goes in intelligence, and our 9 goes in strength. I like it. I'm very happy with this roll. So let's go ahead and add our bonuses. So we're going to get +1 at 10. We'll start here. That'll make sense. Yeah. So no bonus for 10, none whatsoever. For every 2 points, we're going to +1 bonus. So we're going to do a +1 for Wisdom. I'm going to save the best for last. We're going to go +2 to Constitution. That doesn't hurt. Dexterity +1. And we don't quite make it to 10 on strength, so we're going to be -1. Let's do some math. 12, 14, 16, 18. Oh, yes. Not bad. Not bad at all. So +4 for charisma at first level. That's fun. It's a fun way to explore a strange and new world. And so now we can also update our starting hit points, which will be 6 plus our Constitution modifier. So we're looking at 8. Seems good. Our spell save will be 8 plus proficiency bonus of 2 plus charisma. So we're looking at 10 plus 4. So 14 for our spell save difficulty. Our spell attack bonus is going to be proficiency bonus plus charisma, so 2 plus 4. So 6. This is great. This is super fun to start at first level doing this. This is much more fun than just taking the standard array, right? See? Roll for those scores. Have some fun. Live dangerously. All right. We can update our initiative, which is simply our dexterity bonus. +1 is not bad. Not bad at all. We'll wait to address our armor class, attack, and damage after we get some equipment. Our saves and our skills, we'll address that later so we can get on with step 4. Step 4 is describing our character. And so we already jumped ahead a bit and named our character. We have an idea about Malfac's general appearance. Let's choose an alignment. Using alignment is a great way to roleplay all sorts of characters and events when playing solo. It's a great tool when used in conjunction with the question and answer mechanics, as we can make some general assumptions about what characters may or may not be inclined to do based on their alignment. Classic stuff. For Malfac, we're going to choose Chaotic Good. Boo! You want to see an evil sorcerer, I know. But you will definitely see some chaos. I do want to set out in this new world with the option to do good, and then again to not do good because I'm feeling chaotic. So I like the idea of Malfac's character being associated with chaos again. It lends itself well to the wild magic sorceress origin we chose in step 2, and I really want to lean into the concept that Malfac embraces and even thrives in chaos. Not necessarily in an evil way. He is good after all, but he definitely embraces chaos and understands that it is not only a reason for his sorceress powers, but that it is also responsible for creating and shaping the universe that he inhabits. And so on to languages. Our class gives us access to Common and Elvish and another language of our choice. I'm going to choose Sylvan, which is the language of the Fey creatures. And I like that Malfac has a connection with the Feywild. So let's add Sylvan. Definitely hoping that comes up. See some portals to Feywild. Always good times. I like that there will be opportunities to work that element into his character development. So we'll go with that. So something I really like about 5th edition is backgrounds, personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Like alignment, they can be very helpful with some of off-the-cuff roleplay choices when you are playing solo. It's a great way to give dimension to characters without having to develop an elaborate backstory. And so for our background, we are absolutely going to go with Sailor. Oh, I love it. I like the idea that Malfac is a sailor, drawing upon the chaotic forces of storms and such to power his sorceress magics. Now, in the Sword Coast source book, there is a storm sorcerer, which I did look at. I thought it was really interesting, but I wanted to go with the wild magic. So it's very close to making that decision, but we are still a sailor, nevertheless. And I imagine that Malfac lives on an island or a group of island nations, and he makes his living sailing the seas of cheese, perhaps protecting ships from pirates with his magic. I love that idea. And it also gives us some concepts to work with for our first scene. Okay, so Malfac's background is sailor. And that background gives us access to some proficiencies and equipment. We're going to be proficient with athletics and something that is really great, perception. We're also going to get tool proficiency for navigator's tools and vehicles. Water. Awesome. We will be navigating boats for sure. Hopefully ships. For equipment, we'll get a belaying pin, a club, 50 feet of silk rope, a lucky charm, which we will have the option of rolling on the trinkets chart, so we'll be doing that for sure. A set of common clothes and a pouch containing 10 gold. Let's roll for our trinket. Page 161. All right, it's a 1d100. And if it makes sense, we'll absolutely use this for our arcane focus. So here we go. It's a 12. Ooh, fun. A small cloth doll skewered with needles. Awesome. Weird. I like it. I mean, I don't know if that's our arcane focus, but why not? Just go with it for now. It is. That's our arcane focus. Some strange voodoo going on there. I love it. All right. Now, perhaps the coolest feature and certainly practical for our Epic Solo campaign is the sailor background feature, Ship's Passage. Ship's Passage states that when you need to, you can secure free passage on a sailing ship for yourself, your adventuring companions. You might sail on the ship you served on, or another ship you have good relations with, perhaps one captained by a former crewmate. Because you're calling in a favor, you can't be certain of a schedule or route that will meet your every need. Your DM will determine how long it takes to get where you need to go. In return for your free passage, you and your companions are expected to assist the crew during the voyage. And originally I intended on rolling for personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, but some of these are just too interesting and will really help with some of the early decisions and world building. So we're going to pick 2 personality traits. For our first, we'll choose I stretch the truth for the sake of a good story. Life imitating art. Or vice versa. And for our second, I like a job well done, especially if I can convince someone else to do it. All right, I'm definitely getting a bit of a Captain Jack Sparrow vibe from Malfac. He's a lazy ship captain, but a damn fine sorcerer. All right, for our ideals, we'll choose freedom. The sea is freedom, the freedom to go anywhere and do anything. I love it. This really fits in well with our Epic Solo theme, if he survives, of course. And for our bond, we'll choose ruthless pirates murdered my captain and crewmates, plundered our ship, and left me to die. Vengeance will be mine. I mean, come on. You could start an entire campaign with a bond like that, so too good. For our flaw, we'll choose I'll say anything to avoid having to do extra work. That fits in nicely with the so-so captain, but one hell of a sorcerer theme. All right, so that'll do it for step 4, describing our character. We have decided that Malfac is chaotic good and has the background of a sailor and all of the fun and interesting things that go along with that. On to step 5, which is choosing equipment. In 5th edition, we have the option of either taking our starting equipment based on class or alternatively starting with gold pieces to purchase equipment based on our class. We opted for the starting equipment based on class, and so we have some choices. We'll choose a light crossbow and 20 bolts, arcane focus, explorer's pack, and 2 daggers. At this point, we have some gear to equip, and we can also take care of our less than awesome armor class, attack, and damage stats. Our base armor class will be 10, plus our dexterity bonus, which is 2. Could be worse. For a total of 12. And we will equip our light crossbow. It's a little one. 1d8 piercing. Oh, that's attack. We'll do the same for our dagger, one of them. And our attack bonus is going to be +1. With our proficiency bonus, +3. Dagger, not so much. +1. clear my throat there. One other item to address, and don't try to lie and say you started a session without forgetting to do this and then had to look it up. It is our passive wisdom. You know you've done it. You fill out your character sheet and you're like, oh, I forgot passive wisdom. Nowhere does it even mention doing this, but there it is. So our passive wisdom will start with a base 10 and then add our perception modifier. That's the easiest way to do it. We're basically adding our wisdom and any proficiencies for perception, which we have. And so, +3, we'll just take care of that right now. And so after it's all said and done, our passive wisdom bonus is 13. Now, let's review our character sheet, update our skills based on our ability score bonus and any proficiencies, and then we will be ready for our first scene using Mythic Game Master Emulator. But before we do our first scene, I thought it would be fun to peek behind the curtain and do a bit of world building to set up our first scene. All right, so we've cleaned up our character sheet a little bit here. We had most everything that we needed. I do like to put my spell save DC and spell attack here. And there's typically a few things, notes I'll make here, because we will be forgetting a great many things as we go on our adventures, but that's not really what matters. That's not what's important. What's important is that you yell at the screen, "You're missing, you're forgetting." You're forgetting Tides of Chaos. Don't forget your Fey ancestry. You've got dark vision. So feel free to yell at the screen and remind me of all the things I'm forgetting. The one thing I'm just not happy at all with was the random roll for height and weight. We're not going to do that. And I'm the DM and the player, so I get to decide that kind of stuff. So I don't mind. I just didn't understand some of the mechanics, the multiplier. So we'll take a look at that again. I mean, what does that really matter? What's important is what's inside of Malfac. And so I had intended on doing some world building during this episode, but why? This is all about the player creation. And so join us for episode 2, where we will begin some of the world building. We're going to wait to start our first scene until episode 3, because I think it's important to set up that scene. And where we're going to start is using the bond. Ruthless pirates murdered Malfac's captain and crewmates, plundered his ship, and left him to die. Vengeance will be his. And so we're going to start there. That's awesome. What a fun thing. So we'll start with that context, that premise, and we'll start asking questions. And we will see where the adventure takes us. We'll see how to set up scene 1 using the Mythic GM emulator. And so thank you for joining us for episode 1, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that. And so Malfac is here in this strange new world that we're going to create and build together. And so join us for episode 2. Until then, remember, you must gather your party before venturing forth, unless you're playing Epic Solo.